Should you use a teleprompter? Let's figure out if you should and which one will be right for you. Now, the biggest thing to think about is your own teaching style and how you like to present on camera. So be thinking about previous times that you've taught. What's your style? Do you typically like notes or an outline, or do you just go from straight memory? I'm also going to help you figure out which type of teleprompter will be best by comparing two popular ones. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to say this, so I'm just going to call it the big one versus the small one. Should you use one? I think you should use one if you can do all the things I'm going to talk about and read. So a big thing to be aware of is your body language. Can you smile? Can you remind yourself to talk with your hands? And if you're swaying, I would say be aware of that and don't do it. You can use one if there are edits or slides or graphics that you know where you can take a break. This is important for you to be able to finish a point and take a pause. Teleprompters can be really useful with shorter, punchier scripts. Think 30 seconds to a minute long to say exactly what you want to say. Also helpful if you tend to get stage fright when it's time to turn on. It would be super helpful to just know line for line what you're going to say. Or if your mind just goes blank, it'll be helpful to land your script. Another thing that's useful is scripting. So if you have an exact script that you want to say, a teleprompter will be really helpful. No matter what, you should always review your script beforehand so that it's at the top of your mind. Now, I don't think you should use one if you're used to teaching live in front of an audience. I've noticed clients who are used to teaching live with an audience have a harder time using a teleprompter because they're used to that live interaction, and reading line for line is just something that is totally different than glancing down at their notes and knowing where to pick up. Another reason you might not want to use one is if you know your material really, really, really well. Like if you could do it in your sleep without even having to look at anything, I would not say you need to use one. Another time you probably don't have to use one is if you have a slideshow or if you're reading from a book in your hand. A slideshow, your face wouldn't be on it, and a book, your face would be down here reading. And so it would be challenging to be able to look up and read and then look down and read from what you're saying. Which also goes into if you're cooking or doing a demonstration with your hands, it would be really difficult to use a teleprompter because the lines are going and your hands are also moving. It's just too much to explain and to pick up. So I would say don't use one. And then I wouldn't recommend using one if you're going to be interviewing someone because, again, your face is somewhere else. You're not looking just at the camera. You're talking and interacting with someone. Also, if you have a story to tell midway through your script, you want to be able to pause the teleprompter and explain the story. So that's just something to be aware of. Again, all of this comes down to your teaching style. So before you record next, be thinking about how you like to present your material. One thing I want to say about perfectionists is I've seen perfectionists who love them and hate them. Some perfectionists think it's great, I can say exactly what I want to say. And others say I don't sound natural, so I don't want to use one at all. Now, if you do think they're going to be helpful, let me compare the two and break down the pros and cons to each so you can figure out which one is best for you. The small teleprompter pros is that it's small. It fits on a variety of lenses, and you only need a phone-sized device to be able to use it. The app is free, and the app is very easy to use. From a little bit of a tech perspective, the small one is easy to use with any kind of tripod, and it sets up in seconds. Some of the cons to the small teleprompter is that it is smaller, so it is harder to read, which gives you less room for the upcoming lines. So if you're older or you just have bad eyes, it can be challenging to read from. And this is actually why I ended up getting a bigger one because a lot of my clients were struggling with it. Another con is that the app kind of has funky margins and the remote doesn't work with it at all. The battery dies quick and you can get an extra one. I just haven't, and you don't really need it, but it can be helpful. The big teleprompter pros. It's big, so you can see a lot of the upcoming lines. The app is free, but I do think I had to buy one additional upgrade to be able to flip the lines and use it in the way that it should be used. Another pro is that it fits on larger devices like iPads. Another pro is that it can be connected with my phone, and so a phone can be used as a remote to control the iPad as the speed changes. Some of the cons to the big teleprompter is that it is bigger, and so I'm more afraid of it breaking because it's a bigger piece of glass. Another con to the big teleprompter is that it is bigger, and so there's more room to look above the lens and not look like you're naturally reading. One of the cons is that it takes a specific kind of like mounting system, and so I know I have to use one specific tripod when I use the bigger teleprompter. So now you're able to decide if you should use a teleprompter and which one is right for you. All right, catch you later.